entertaining, talking sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. I'll be live today at about 6 o'clock recapping all of today's news. But, of course, some early news came out today regarding the New York Giants. And, yes, I'm well aware of Tom Brady not returning to New England. I'll probably have a video up on that once he decides his destination, talking about how it will affect the New York Giants in terms of the draft. But in this video, I'm going to talk about Levine Toilolo, the tight end that the New York Giants just brought in. Formerly of the San Francisco 49ers. Before that, he played with the Detroit Lions. And before that, I believe he played with the Atlanta Falcons. We'll jump into some of his numbers, but they're not bringing him in here for numbers. Last year, Toilolo only had 10 yards receiving. His career high, I think, is about 260 yards. He's not a receiving tight end. He's a blocking tight end. Of course, the New York Giants have a hole to fill with Rhett Ellison retiring. The New York Giants probably feel like they need some depth at that tight end spot. And Toilolo is a blocking specialist. He's been known as one of the better blockers at the position in the NFL for quite some time. Very similar to that of Rhett Ellison. Last year, he had just under 200 snaps with the San Francisco 49ers, and they said he was very good in terms of the zone blocking scheme. So that is the strength that he will bring to the New York Giants. Do I expect him to put up fantasy stats? No. But he's a big man. He's 6'8", 260 pounds, and I'll jump into some notes about him at previous stops, mainly at Detroit. And what he brought to the table in terms of blocking. Don't expect this guy to be catching passes. He's filling in for Ellison, and, if somebody may go down, maybe they'll use him a little bit in that role, but he will be probably the third-string tight end. What's funny here is the New York Giants have now picked up two tight ends from the San Francisco 49ers off of last year's roster. Caden Smith, of course, last year was drafted by the 49ers in the 6th round. Toilolo was picked up in free agency, and now he will be released. A lot of people thought he'd be back with the 49ers. I don't know the contract specifics yet. Last year, he was making a league minimum contract just around $500,000. I'm assuming it's probably a bit of a raise, being that he signed so early in free agency. I don't think it's going to be much more than $1 million, but, we'll have to wait and see in terms of, a cap hit, how it will affect the New York Giants. But I don't expect it to be, some enormous contract. But it's not a move I'm going to hate. I'm not going to bash this move. It's not a move I'm going to get excited about, but definitely could help in the blocking department, something that the New York Giants definitely need, being that they're going to want to run the ball with Saquon Barkley. But let's jump into some of the notes I have for Toilolo. There is the tweet from Adam Schefter, came out this morning. Former 49ers tight end Levine Toilolo is expected to sign with the New York Giants, who needed a replacement for the recently retired Rhett Ellison, per league sources. Then we're going to pull up his numbers. Like I said, the stats aren't going to jump off the page. He was used in a limited capacity last year. Only got about 200 snaps with the 49ers. Of course, the Niners have the best tight end in football with George Kittle. He's had a couple of years with just over 250 yards receiving, but he's not being brought in here for that. He's being brought in here to be a blocker. And, he's been very durable over the course of his career. That's something that stands out there. Last year, I'm assuming he probably didn't get hurt. He just probably wasn't used in 3 of the games. Before that, he played every game outside of 1 in 2017. He'll be 29 at the start of next year. And then finally, this was some note I was able to pull up with the Detroit Lions regarding Toilolo and, how he is very successful in terms of blocking. The tight end finds most of his success as a run blocker. He is great at getting low and driving defenders out of a gap. Toilolo is really strong and can push a defender all the way across the formation when he is asked to. He is a smart blocker as well, and rarely does he end up shoving the man that he is blocking into the path of the running back. So there you have it. That's what they had to say about him when he was with the Detroit Lions, when they were breaking down some film of him being a blocker. It's something that the New York Giants need. We say it all the time, especially run blocking, being that they want to build around Saquon Barkley. So the move certainly makes sense. I'm sure it's a very cheap deal. It's like a league, probably a minimum contract, similar to a guy like Cody Core last year. We'll have to wait and see what the contract details, but I don't think it'll be a big cap hit. And Toilolo should be, in the rotation at that tight end spot. After Rhett Ellison retired, I do see, obviously, the reasoning behind it. You could certainly argue maybe they could have drafted a tight end in the later rounds, but you're not talking much here. This is going to be like $1 million contract. I know it's not news breaking. It's not as big as a guy like Blake Martinez yesterday, but or even, obviously James Bradbury. But, it is a signing for the New York Giants. It's something that they could use. a blocking tight end, especially when they want to use some two tight end sets. And I think the Giants will get to running the football, and Toilolo should help that. But, yeah, we'll see what else the New York Giants do today. The cap space, like I said last night, it's going to depend on how, I'm sure they could restructure some deals, try to create some cap space. I would be surprised if they go after a big free agent. I think they're going to look for depth pieces at this point in time, which is probably the smarter approach for the New York Giants, being with the cap space that they have left. But we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.